Have you ever seen The Truman Show? There's that perfect moment when Truman Burbank's meticulously scripted, predictable world is shattered. A stage light, a piece of the sky, inexplicably falls to the ground. It's the first crack in the facade, the first sign that the reality he knows is an artificial construction. For the last few years, the economic narrative around AI has felt a bit like Truman's world. We've been watching a predictable script play out, one borrowed directly from the dot-com boom of the late 90s. We knew the plot. A productivity surge for a select few, displacement for others, and a new, more unequal society at the end. We could see the stage lights. But this week, something fell out of the sky. A data point from India so massive, so unexpected, it feels like a glitch in the simulation. A hiring frenzy that doesn't just bend the script, it threatens to tear it up entirely. It forces us to ask a fundamental question. Are we just characters in a well-rehearsed play, destined to repeat the plot of the past? Or did that falling star just reveal the ceiling, proving the old script is useless and we're in a whole new production? Welcome back to AI Replaced Me. It's June 14th, 2025, and I'm your host, Koby Ofek. This is episode 6, and we're calling it The Great Rebalancing. Today, we're trying to make sense of a week of stunning contradictions. We have dire warnings of deepening inequality from the world's most powerful institutions, sitting right alongside explosive, unprecedented job creation. It's a week that forces us to untangle what human work is actually worth in an economy that seems to be pulling itself in two different directions at once. Let's start with that old, familiar script. It feels a bit like watching a modern remake of a classic horror film. You know the story beats. You know when the jump scares are coming. You know the killer's playbook by heart. And yet, you have to watch as a new cast of characters makes the exact same mistakes, walking right into the same traps. That's the feeling I got reading a recent, sharp analysis by Alberto Chies in the Financial Times. The film he's rewatching is the U.S. economy from 1995 to 2005. The decade of the great information technology boom. It's a period we remember for its incredible productivity surge, but Chies urges us to look closer at the fine print. That boom was fueled by IT and automation, which delivered huge efficiency gains. But it came at a cost: substantial job displacement in manufacturing. Now, here is the crucial plot point, the one that echoes so loudly today. Those displaced factory workers didn't just vanish. Many of them transitioned into the service sector. But here's the catch. They moved into lower productivity service jobs. The result wasn't a universally rising tide, it was a bifurcated economy. While tech companies soared, the overall national productivity growth eventually stagnated. The shift of millions of workers into less productive roles acted as a massive drag anchor on the whole system, contributing to wage depression and a structural increase in economic inequality. The lesson was stark. Technological progress, left to its own devices, doesn't automatically create widespread prosperity. Now, fast forward to this week. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, just dropped its latest report, and it feels like they're reading the killer's diary out loud. The headline figure is grabbing all the attention. 60% of all jobs in the United States are exposed to significant AI impact. But the real story, the one that follows the horror movie script, is in the nuance. The IMF splits that 60% right down the middle. Roughly half of those roles, so 30% of the total workforce, stand to benefit from augmentation. This is the good news story. AI as a co-pilot, enhancing productivity, making workers more valuable. But the other half, another 30% of the workforce, face negative consequences, up to and including obsolescence. These are the jobs where AI's capabilities don't just help, they replace. This isn't just about factory floors anymore. The IMF makes it explicitly clear that white-collar professions, finance, law, administration, are squarely in the path of this disruption. The very knowledge work that absorbed displaced manufacturing workers is now the target of automation. So, if the IT boom displaced high-productivity manufacturing workers into lower-productivity service jobs, what happens when AI displaces mid-productivity service workers? If a displaced paralegal or a marketing manager ends up in a low-value gig economy role, we are running the exact same play, just on a different part of the field. This is the inequality trap in action, a scenario where individual companies report record profits from their augmented, hyper-productive workers, while national statistics show stagnant wages and growing social discontent from the displaced. We risk a productivity paradox 2.0, where revolutionary technology fails to lift the broader economy. And this isn't just a problem for the developed world. If anything, it's worse elsewhere. A new report from the United Nations, released on June 9th, pivots the camera to the global south and finds a much starker picture. It argues that developing economies are experiencing job displacement more acutely. Why? Because their economies often have a higher concentration of the routine, manual, and administrative labor that is the low-hanging fruit for automation. The productivity gains from that automation are then captured by capital, which is often located in developed nations, exacerbating global inequality. The UN's policy recommendations, AI literacy, reskilling, social safety nets, are essential, but they are monumentally difficult to implement in countries that are already resource-constrained. The picture painted by these institutions is cohesive, and frankly, it's bleak. It's the ghost of the dot-com bust, whispering that we've seen this movie before, and we know how it ends. But just as that gloomy historical echo gets deafening, a completely different sound emerges from the other side of the world. It's not the sound of jobs disappearing, it's the sound of a hiring frenzy. It's like we've all been playing the same massive online video game for years. Everyone knows the best gear, the ultimate weapon, is the blade of 1,000 degrees, forged in the fires of a traditional university. We've all been grinding for it. Then, this week, a new expansion pack just dropped. Overnight, the game's entire meta has shifted. The most powerful item is now the golden fishing rod of practical skills, and you don't need a degree to get it. You just need to know how to fish. That's the only way to describe the report that came out of India on June 11th from TeamLease EdTech. This isn't a forecast. It's a snapshot of what's happening right now. A staggering 74% of Indian employers are not just planning to hire, but are actively hiring fresh graduates in the first half of 2025. And this isn't for yesterday's jobs. The demand is unequivocally being led by AI-related roles. The boom is widespread. E-commerce and tech startups are leading the charge, but even traditional manufacturing is seeing a surge. The hiring intent in tech hubs is off the charts. 78% in Bangalore, 65% in Mumbai, and 57% in Chennai. But the most significant part of this story isn't the volume of hiring, it's the what. Jaideep Kewalramani of TeamLease put it perfectly. The job market is no longer solely evaluating talent based on academic degrees. The paradigm is shifting to demonstrable skills. This is the new expansion pack. We're talking about a fundamental repricing of human capital. What matters now is not the diploma on your wall, but the skills you can prove. The report specifically calls out competencies in data visualization, which is crucial for making sense of complex AI outputs. Cloud computing, the essential infrastructure for AI deployment, and robotics, the physical embodiment of AI's power. This isn't just an Indian phenomenon. It's the local manifestation of a global trend. The move towards skills-based hiring is accelerating everywhere. Companies are realizing that traditional credentials are poor predictors of success in a rapidly changing environment. Reports show that a skills-first approach can expand talent pools by orders of magnitude, bringing in qualified candidates who would have been filtered out by old-fashioned degree-based requirements. This is especially true in AI, where a skills-based approach can increase the talent pipeline by more than 8 times globally. So, how do we reconcile this with the UN's warning about the Global South? It suggests the narrative is too simplistic. The Global South is not a monolith. What we're seeing is the emergence of a new kind of human capital divide. Nations like India, which have a vast youth population and a robust pre-existing IT education infrastructure, are not just victims of automation. They are positioning themselves to become the world's new talent factories for the AI era. They are not just providing low-cost labor, they are providing high-demand skills. This suggests that the future of global economic power might depend less on manufacturing might and more on the speed and effectiveness with which a nation can retool its people. India is providing a blueprint. The question is, who can follow it? So we have these two giant conflicting waves crashing in the global economy, one of historical inequality and one of explosive, skills-based opportunity. How are individual companies, the captains of these ships, actually navigating these waters? It reminds me of the central tension in a film like Ex Machina. The question for the protagonist isn't just if he should interact with the advanced AI, but to what end? Is this AI a partner designed to augment his own intelligence and help him achieve his goals? Or does it have its own agenda, one that will ultimately render him obsolete? A fantastic report in the Financial Times this week, titled Disrupted or Displaced: How AI is Shaking Up Jobs, took us inside the corporate engine room, and it reveals that there is no single corporate strategy. Instead, we're seeing a great divergence. On one side, you have the replacement strategy. This is about pure efficiency and cost cutting. The UK retailer Ocado is using AI and robotics to fulfill orders faster with direct employee reductions. IBM and Klarna are going even further, implementing AI to absorb entire human functions in HR and customer service, respectively. Klarna now says AI handles over 2/3 of its customer service calls. On the other side, you have the augmentation strategy. This is about productivity and elevating human capability. Firms like the asset manager Schroders and the biotech pioneer Moderna are leveraging AI as an advanced toolkit, not to shrink their headcount, but to expand what their existing workforce can achieve. This brings us to the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025, which helps explain the net effect of these conflicting strategies. On the surface, the WF offers a surprisingly optimistic headline. They project a net increase of 78 million jobs worldwide by 2030. But that number is the result of a violent economic churn. An anticipated 170 million new positions emerging, set against 92 million roles facing obsolescence. This isn't a gentle evolution. It's a profound re-architecture of the labor market. And interestingly, the WEF projects significant growth, not just in tech roles, but in frontline jobs like farm workers and nurses, suggesting that roles requiring physical dexterity, empathy, and complex human interaction are, for now, being augmented not automated away. This reveals a critical new fault line in the world of work. We talk about a two-speed economy between firms that adapt and firms that don't, but it goes deeper. We are seeing a two-speed economy inside the workforce, and your career trajectory now depends heavily on your employer's AI philosophy. If you work at a replacement company, your primary career risk is job obsolescence. The goal is to automate your function. You're a cost to be eliminated. If you work at an augmentation company, your primary career risk is skill obsolescence. Your job still exists, but the skills required to perform it are changing at a blinding pace, and you're in a constant race to keep up. This refines the IMF's 60% figure beautifully. The 30% facing negative consequences are likely at replacement-focused firms. The 30% who stand to benefit are at augmentation-focused firms. Your fate is increasingly tied to your company's strategy, creating immense pressure not only to upskill, but to choose your employer very, very wisely. All right, let's look at the horizon with a few quick flashes from the front lines.
Oh my goodness! Time for future forward flashes!
Flash 1, the human wildcard. While we've been deep in economic models, the real world reminded us this week that it doesn't follow a script. The very public spat between President Trump and Elon Musk sent Tesla's stock plummeting 14% and rattled the markets. It's a reminder that for all our predictive models, the global economy can still be thrown into a tailspin by a moment of pure, uncut Logan Roy energy from Succession. The irrational, unpredictable human element remains a significant, unmodelable systemic risk. Flash 2, the new global divide. The big takeaway from the UN and India reports isn't just about jobs. It's about the fracturing of the developing world. It's like a global sorting hat. But instead of Gryffindor and Slytherin, it's sorting nations into the AI-ready and the AI-vulnerable. The new global competition isn't just about trade or resources. It's a race to build human capital. The nations that can pivot their education systems the fastest will win. Flash 3, the policy consensus. For once, everyone seems to agree on something. The IMF, the UN, the World Economic Forum. It's like that scene in every disaster movie where the feuding scientists, the skeptical general, and the panicked politician finally look at the same terrifying data and agree we have to build the thing. The message is unanimous. Without deliberate public policy, robust social safety nets, and massive investment in retraining, the inequality trap isn't a possibility, it's a certainty. Flash 4, the Great Repricing of skills. This is the single economic force underlying every story this week. It's like waking up in a fantasy novel to find that gold is now worthless, and the entire economy runs on a rare, glowing moss that only grows in one specific cave. The value of human skills is being repriced that dramatically and that quickly, with demonstrable AI-adjacent skills commanding massive wage premiums. So what's the real story of the week? Is it the horror movie remake of the dot-com bust? Or the game-changing expansion pack from Bangalore? Is it the IMF's warning or the WEF's optimism? The answer is, it's all of them. We are living through a great rebalancing. The fundamental value proposition of human labor is being renegotiated right before our eyes. The comfortable middle ground of knowledge work, the safe harbor for decades, is eroding. The market is splitting towards two poles. On one end, you have high-value, uniquely human skills, creativity, strategic thinking, complex problem-solving, empathy that can be powerfully augmented by AI. On the other end, you have low-value, routine tasks that will be ruthlessly automated. The chasm between those two poles is widening every single day. The question is no longer just, will AI take my job? That's the old question. The new, more urgent questions are, what is my job actually worth in this new economy? And how do I prove it? Navigating this rebalancing is the single most important career challenge of our time. It's like we've all been given a new map of the world, but it's one of those magical maps from a fantasy story where the coastlines are still shifting and new islands are appearing out of the mist. It's about making a strategic shift away from a world of credentials and toward a world of demonstrable capabilities. That's the proactive adaptation we all have to make, and it's the central idea I explore in my book, Keep Your Day Job: How to AI-Proof Your Career. It's available on Amazon and wherever you get your books. Join me next week on AI Replaced Me as we continue to track the signals in this ever-changing landscape. Thanks for tuning in.